So these two plants that I have here are called Rhipsalis crispata, and these are actually native to Brazil. Now, unfortunately, these plants are endangered in their native habitats, and you probably saw me talking about this not only on my Instagram, but also on my YouTube channel, especially in the Rhipsalis propagation and care video. I talk about how many Rhipsalis are actually endangered or vulnerable or threatened in their native habitats because they are growing in places like Brazil and Bolivia that are undergoing a lot of deforestation, unfortunately. So having these, and raising these and actually keeping them in cultivation, I think is really important, just in the event that you want to actually see these plants still living. But make sure that you're actually getting them from a reputable seller or somebody that has been growing them for quite some time, because these plants are actually easily propagatable. So you'll see that these little phylloclades, or these flattened stems, have these joints, and oftentimes some the plants will actually fall off at the joints, like this one here. It's actually already starting to root up. I just pulled the little substrate away from this plant and the little roots that you're seeing coming out of here. So that is exactly how you actually propagate this plant. You could also propagate it by seed, but these plants typically are growing epipetrically, which means on rocks, or epiphytically, which means on trees. So they want a little bit more of a well-draining mixture. So I typically mix in a little bit more of a bark mixture with a little bit more like perlite or some type of bonsai mixture if it's something that is typically growing on stones, and then a little bit more succulent soil or a regular potting medium, and then you kind of mix that all together, and then you have a kind of nice Rhipsalis mixture. As far as fertilizing goes, you can get away with a monthly to a quarterly basis. I mean, Rhipsalis are not heavy feeders, but if you have one that is growing very well and maybe you're giving it a little bit more of a better light conditions, because these can grow just fine in more medium light or kind of dappled light conditions. But if you I find that if you give Rhipsalis even a little bit more sun, and if you're growing them in like kind of bright indirect light, they actually tend to grow a little bit quicker, a little bit more, and a little bit faster. So if you're giving them a little bit more light, then make sure that you're watering them appropriately, that their roots are not soggy, that you're not giving them a potting medium where the water gets, held into the potting medium a little bit more. Make sure it has that little bit more of that well-draining mixture. And as far as, like I said, fertilizing goes, you could get away with a monthly to quarterly basis, and you're probably just going to want to use a little bit more of a succulent fertilizer. So like if you're using a 347, 247, 122, 011, any of those will be perfectly fine. But if you want to know a little bit more information about Rhipsalis, check out the Rhipsalis care and propagation video. But otherwise, enjoy this one.